Richard Haas, if you look around the globe, I could name a lot of places where there are the harboring of terrorists, a lot more terrorists being harbored than in Afghanistan. As we said yesterday, Senator John McCain has more staff members on Capitol Hill than our CIA director says there are members of al-Qaeda in Afghanistan. So Americans keep asking, why are we spending so much money in Afghanistan and not rebuilding America? Now, the president talked about it last night. You brought it up early on. Let's take a listen to the president, then Richard, get your response.
Over the last decade, we have spent $1 trillion on war at a time of rising debt and hard economic times. Now we must invest in America's greatest resource, our people. America, it is time to focus on nation building here at home. We are bound together by the creed that is written into our founding documents and a conviction that the United States of America is a country that can achieve whatever it sets out to accomplish. Now, let us finish the work at hand. Let us responsibly end these wars and reclaim the American dream that is at the center of our story.
But Richard, how much real savings is there going to be from the withdrawal of 10,000 troops by the end of this year, if those troops are in fact withdrawn? We know in the fall, if the generals say things have gotten worse, we can't afford to lose them. The president's going to defer to the generals, because he always does. And that other number, even if he withdraws the additional 23,000 next year, as Willie said, that'll still be twice the number of troops in Afghanistan as when Barack Obama was sworn in on January 20th, 2009.
That's exactly right. The cost savings will be negligible at the rate we're talking about. So while the president is articulating the language of shifting the emphasis here at home, what he calls nation building here at home, the actual policy is inconsistent with that. The savings from this will be small. If you really were going to switch to a much greater emphasis either on doing things here at home or worrying more about, say, the Asia Pacific, which is a theater which is much more central to what history is going to ultimately be in the 21st century, you would very quickly move to something like a residual force of 25,000 troops. You would save $75 to $90 billion a year, because the point you just made is exactly right. One is there's nothing unique or special about Afghan real estate. If you're a terrorist and you get up tomorrow morning, you're just as happy to ply your trade from any number of places. And there's no reason to think that what we're going to continue to do in Afghanistan for 3 more years, as the president articulated, will be any more successful. The lesson we should learn here is that while American forces operate in strength, we will do okay. But as soon as we begin to wind that down, whether it's a year from now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now, so long as Pakistan's a sanctuary, so long as Afghanistan is Afghanistan, there's no reason to believe that we can translate whatever progress we made into the hands of the Afghans. Afghanistan is going to find its own messy mix. So I just don't understand why this is worth 3 more years of the scale of effort that the president is articulating. I would get there much sooner, and that would actually be consistent or more consistent with his own argument that we ought to switch the focus much more to steering dollars to spending, be it in the United States or to other greater threats or challenges the United States faces around the world.
Donnie, putting aside what the opinion pages say, did the president tap in, do you think, to the way the country's feeling about the war last night?
No, we know the way the country's feeling about it. Overwhelmingly, 3/4 of Americans are saying, get out. My question to everybody is, what I am not getting is this. Is it simply that he does not want to be a president that looks like he's running, that it's not presidential coming into an election to just say, goodbye, I'm out of here? Or is there something we're not seeing there? It just doesn't make sense. As an American, as a kind of guy who watches politics, and you listen to every expert, listen to you guys, and there is no, we all understand common sense that wherever you put the rock, they're going to pop up, the cockroaches are going to go someplace else. This is not the one place in the world that they're going to breed. That being said, is it simply politically he just doesn't look presidential? Because I can't figure it out.
Yes. No, I think it's not that complicated, and I think you got your finger on it. When the election time comes, he wants to be the guy who, A, did what he said he was going to do, that is start to bring the troops home, and B, doesn't want to antagonize people to the middle and to the right who would otherwise say he's bailing out. He's probably going to have a pretty easy cruise of it if he does what he says he's going to do, start bringing troops home. The instant he brings everybody home, assuming that you can do that, and you can't do that in any case, he's going to look really, really bad at a time when it's election time.
Is that true? Let me ask you a question, Joe, and I'd love to hear your point of view. That Is there another thought, if you tipped on the head, that would be the ultimate presidential thing to do? You know, that the brave thing right now is to say, you know what, this is time to get out. And that is not weakness, that is strength, because I'm protecting us at home here. So I guess maybe that's too optimistic, or that's too...
well, he's not going to act like that.
But, you know, would the Americans maybe say that is presidential to do that?
Well, Donnie, a Republican could do that. That's just the bottom line. Nixon could go to China, to use the cliche. It's the truth. Nixon could go to China. George McGovern could not. In this case, a strong Republican could say, enough of this war. It's time to start rebuilding America. A Democrat can't. The right wing has always antagonized Democratic presidents and pushed them. JFK in Vietnam in 1962, 1963. He was accused before his assassination of being too weak on communism. The same thing, of course, with Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton always had to prove when he was governor that he'd be willing to execute anybody, and as president that he would be willing to execute wars all over the world. And now you have the same thing with Barack Obama. Barack Obama knows, like all of us know, that when our troops leave Afghanistan, bad things are going to happen. Now, it's whether they happen in 2011 or 2021 or 2031, regardless of when we leave, it's going to explode again. And he doesn't want it to explode on his watch. This is what's upset me for so long on both sides, Republicans and Democrats alike. This is a political calculation, and Richard Haas, neither side, Caddy, Kay, I'll let both of you jump in here, neither side wants to be the side accused of losing this war. Richard first, then Caddy.
Well, also there's another problem here, and it's ironic. Whenever the United States invests a lot in a place, and we've invested dollars in lives, in a funny sort of way, Joe, that investment begins to create its own foreign policy interests. And it makes it hard to draw down from that or to dial it back from that, because people will raise issues of credibility. And the president's made it harder on himself because never has he actually defined what would be success. Because you could almost argue we achieved success years ago. The success should have been that we decimated al-Qaeda and we reduced the level of al-Qaeda in Afghanistan to nothing special. If its success, however, was to stand up an Afghan state that could function, quite honestly, I don't think we will ever realize that level of success. So the president has created a policy where it makes it very, very hard to explain to the American people just why we did what we did and just what we've accomplished. And the fact is, it will be messy. It always was and it always will be. And he's got to live with that area of gray rather than with anything more satisfying or black or white.
You know, I think the only rationale, really, for America staying there, and certainly for the surge troops, was if you believed that without American forces there in great number, the Taliban would come back in a significant way into Afghanistan, effectively take back power in Afghanistan, and that a Taliban Afghanistan would invite back in al-Qaeda. And that's where the White House has been split. That's where the experts on the region have been split. And actually, when you start coming down to looking at it, there are very many reasons for arguing that al-Qaeda would not go back into a Taliban-run Afghanistan. And if that's the case, if we can say, right, we can get out, the Taliban can come back in significant ways and significantly share power of this country, but without al-Qaeda being there, then there is no reason for American troops to stay.